Okay, so Danny, obviously after the Detroit game, you seemed in pretty high spirits about the last week and what you managed to achieve over that week. Still the same feeling now?
Same feeling, yes. We get back to Phoenix after a long trip, and we spend most of this week really recovering the players from that trip, as well as obviously then adding in a certain amount of training in preparation for Miami. But as far as how we feel about the last week, I would say we are, yes, absolutely in good spirits, because I felt the road trip, with a long 6-day trip and 2 very difficult away games, I felt the players equipped themselves very well for that length of time away from home, and got I think 2 good results on the road. So obviously we're very pleased with that. But as I've said to you many times, we now put that behind us and we look forwards, and we know that whatever we feel about what we were able to get last week, that gets us nothing for this next game and this upcoming week.
You mentioned a lot of recovery this week. Physically, how are the boys looking at the moment?
Physically, they're good. Yeah, we have a healthy squad. Some normal fatigue from a 3-game week, and then obviously we have the same 3-game week coming up again this week. So this week of training, like I say, was a little bit of a combination of the right amount of work, but then plenty of recovery and preparation, so that we have a good amount of freshness as well as fitness moving into Saturday. But from a physical point of view, players look good, and I think they are, again, looking forward to a good game at home this weekend. And after we get through that, not before we get through that, then looking forward to the road trip.
When you take a look back at the stretch of games that you had, the travel that you made, what were you most proud of with your group?
I think just the things that I've just said there. It's difficult to be on the road for that length of time, first of all, and then playing 2 tough games against good opponents was, we knew that was going to be a difficult task. And I think honestly, from the way that sometimes cup games can go, and we have a game where we end up 10v9 on like I've said before, a very big pitch in Carolina. So it's a big pitch for 11v11, and we go to 10v10 and then 10v9 and 120 minutes on that pitch as well. I was very pleased with the mentality of the players to come out on top in that game from obviously getting the win. And then it's a fast turnaround, those Wednesday, Saturday games, and another long travel to Detroit. And what I would give the players a lot of credit for is the things that I see in the hotel that obviously publicly we don't get to see outwardly. I see every time that they are doing extra pieces to refuel their body and to recover their body. And I spoke to the team at the end of the week and also gave a lot of credit to the staff in terms of the work that they do, from the medical staff to the team administrator and the equipment managers, for all the work that they have to put in over a long week. It takes an army to get through those trips, and we're now prepared to do it again next week. But I was most pleased with, like I say, the attitude of the whole group, players and staff, to make sure that we put ourselves in the best possible position to go and compete well.
What are the biggest adjustments you make in weeks like that, where you're stuck in hotels with the staff? You have to, be more together as a group. What's changing the most tactically and conversationally?
Well, we spend a lot of time talking in those weeks. On face value, you think, right, we're on the road for 6 days. There's going to be a lot of time to spend together and to talk through things. Well, the reality is there is a lot of logistics to deal with, and you find that all of your time gets filled very quickly. And so we sit together as a staff often during those trips, and we have lots of conversations. And honestly, when you're on a trip like that, best laid plans, when you think ahead, change very quickly. It only takes one player that's feeling something different than you expected, or you have to obviously see how players come through every game that you played, see how they react to travel, see how they feel. Sometimes you just got to look in eyes in the morning and see see what you see in people's faces. And every time you make an evaluation of the players, then as a staff we go and speak through it. And for the group, we try and make the best decisions possible for the team, and put all the individuals in the right place. But from a team aspect, make choices that we feel are the best ones for the team. And I think going into Detroit, obviously we rotate a few players for that Detroit game. But as I've said consistently, it doesn't matter to us which 11 players we put on the pitch. We're confident that they will all go out and perform well. So it's a lot of talking, it's a lot of conversation. It's almost a consistent evaluation on where the group's at, and then making choices based on that.
How has that confidence changed from day one to now, in terms of knowing you can throw any collection of players on the pitch within reason and expect something out of them.
Yeah, well, honestly, the difference between day one and now is that we've gone through more of a process of building the team and getting players integrated with each other, and spent having more time on the field, training and in games, and developing those on-field relationships through through being on the field with each other. That clearly is a big difference between when you start on day one and where you get to now, sort of 4 months into a season. So that's something that only comes with time. It comes with work. It comes with training and thought, and then the players obviously doing their part. And it's I often speak to the players about spending time having conversations between themselves, because when they walk onto that pitch, they're the ones that have to play with each other. They have to know each other, and they have to get the best out of each other. As a staff of coaches, we do everything we can through a week, and then we play our part on a game day, but the players have to go and do that together. So I think like I say, just connection on and off the field is a big thing. There is no getting away from the fact that takes time, and I think we're at that point now where we've had some time, and we're still evolving and we're still developing, and we'll go again on Saturday, and we don't expect that we get anything, like I said, on Saturday based on what we might have done last week, and we want 3 points in the league this weekend.
Obviously, by the end of last week, you're in a position where you have to play Ryan Flood up top. But has that maybe made you have any thought about whether you need to look at more depth maybe at the number 9 role, bringing in?
Well, I don't have to play Ryan up top. We can play whoever we choose to play up top there. Ryan's a player who has come into the group, and like I've said, is a player that does have flexibility to play in different roles, and has done for us. Of course, there's an element of rotation needed when you're in the third game of a long trip like that, and fatigue and freshness in bodies is important. Ryan, we have continued to work with this week in a couple of different roles, and we'll keep doing that. As far as what we might look at moving forwards, I don't really have anything to comment on that right now. We are working with the squad of players that we have, and my thought and the staff's thought don't really go beyond that. That's obviously not to say that, of course, we know things can move and change with clubs in the league through the course of the season. So I mean, I would never write things off. But as we speak right now, there's no thought of different players playing for the club right now. We work with the players that we have, and we're working with Ryan in that role, as well as a couple of other roles that we know he can fill for us. And like we do with every game, we'll pick the 11 and the 18 that we feel is best for Miami, and then we'll move on to Seattle and to Indy from there.
When you look at that Seattle game next week coming up, and knowing the magnitude of what a win in that game would mean for this club, is there any looking ahead to that and having to think about maybe prioritising that, especially with so many games kind of bunched together?
Thinking ahead a little bit, yes, but not at the expense of thinking about Saturday. So I understand, of course, the point that you're making, and we're all aware of where that tournament is from where we stand in that last 16, and the potential of them moving into a quarter-final. And just to jump ahead and speak about that, of course it's something that as a staff we're thinking about, but that won't come at the expense of making good choices for this weekend. Once we get through Saturday, then of course we take into account the importance of that game, and we place big value, honestly, on the league game on Saturday, and after that then big value in the game on Wednesday, and we want to win both of those games, and we want to win the third game of the week in Indy as well. And so it's without wanting to sound like I'm avoiding your question there, of course we understand the game we're going to play on Wednesday. It is an important game for us, but so is Saturday, and Saturday comes first. And so Saturday is I've said many times and put a big emphasis with the players this week, Saturday against Miami is where the heads are, and that's it. We don't think past that right now. We get 3 points at home against Miami as the target. That's the only target. Then Sunday we start thinking towards Seattle and Wednesday. With
Miami then, young team, energetic group, long travel week for them. They've kind of still been searching for their tactical identity, it seems like. What have been your takeaways on them?
Miami, like every team in the league, have good pieces to their team. There is no team in this league, like I've said several times now, there is no team in this league that anybody should be looking at as a a lesser team as a comfortable game, because it does not exist in this league anymore. And Miami will be no different from that. And the only thought in my mind is that we're going to face a difficult opponent. They have good players that have good ability, and we've seen that, I think, especially I think in the attacking side of their game. They have some good quality players. If you give them space and you give them time and you give them opportunities to threaten the goal, they will do that. And they have a style that, as a philosophy and an identity, I've seen them play that way consistently, which I think is a credit to them and any team that has an identity and wants to go after that and stick to that. And I'm sure they'll come and show us something similar this weekend with good players that they have. And I would urge anybody thinking about this game, anybody that's listening to me speak right now, not for a moment to underestimate an opponent that's coming to Phoenix this weekend, because this will be a difficult game, same as every game in this league is now, and that's the only way that we prepare.
With that low block, what are some of the things? It's always been a tricky thing, at least in your time at the club, even as an assistant, in terms of finding ways to break down to deeper blocks of 4 or even 9 at times. Mm-hmm. Back there, what's the next step for you guys in terms of that passage of play?
It's a difficult thing to break down, because obviously the reality is between the ball and the goal there are a lot of players, and they compact a lot of space, and teams will come and do that. We see that quite consistently here in Phoenix at certain times in the year, and it's a difficult thing to break down because of space that it takes away, because of obviously a number of bodies that are defending the goal at any moment, and where players need to now be able to operate in tighter spaces with less time. This is an important aspect. We need to be able to move the ball quickly in those situations, because obviously the pressing different distances are, of course, a lot shorter between lines in a low block. And sometimes in these games it comes down to individuals that produce a moment of quality, and individuals to almost sometimes put the team on their back a little bit and say, look, I'll be the one that takes responsibility here. And the good thing we have is I always feel we have 11 players on a field at any moment, all of whom are comfortable taking that responsibility. And so within that team collective, there'll be certain aspects of how we look to break down a low block, if that's what we see this weekend. But at any point we do see this, we talk a little bit tactically about where we might want to try and play within that block or around that block. And then we stress, like I say, the importance of the quality of players, and this is where it's going to come down to with games of football. It's it comes down to players producing the quality that they have, and it's we know we have good quality players. It's production in the moments that matter where that's going to be the key. So we'll rely on that as well as the tactical plan collectively, and then we ask individual players to produce the quality that we know they have.